Yesterday, Sayadaw started to talk about bhavana. Bhavana means to develop a mind that is cultured and refined, to develop knowledge. And when this development is complete, development means to create it and to make it grow. And when this bhavana mind is complete, that means the mind is clean. And with that as our base, this clean mind is our base. Beginning with the discernment of nama and rupa, mind and matter, we come to see the Dhamma which is really there. So at this point, there are two types of meditation to mention. And one is samatha, which calms the mind. And the other is vipassana, which is the development of knowledge. Now there's no need here to particularly develop samatha bhavana, because if we develop vipassana, our knowledge will develop stage by stage. And when that knowledge comes to maturity, we will realize there will be the development of the path, megabhavana. So what is important is to have our basic sila complete and to make our mind clean each moment after moment. That's all we have to do. Knowledge will come by itself once our mind is clean. And this knowledge that comes is not knowledge that we learn from books. And it's also not knowledge that we gain through reflection. And it's not knowledge that we get secondhand from another yogi. It's knowledge that arises due to the practice of satipatthana. Once our mind is clean, knowledge develops stage by stage, starting from the basics. And it's important at the start to have faith in this. So in order to come to know the real mental and physical Dhamma and Rupa that are in our being, we need to do that with our mind. And to know, to develop knowledge, we need to develop visuddhi, purity. And the first type of purity that we need is sila visuddhi. So with regard to our morality, most of the yogis will keep the 8 precepts. Lay yogis keep the 8 precepts. For monks, it's to keep the patimākkhā. So these rules have to be observed. And it's not enough just to know about the vinaya. One has to practice it. One can't just do away with it. These are rules that need to be followed. And so, according to what we've read, and according to what we've learned about sila, and about the 8 precepts and about the vinaya, with faith as our base, we observe the sila according to what we know. And next, we need citta visuddhi, that is purity of mind. Purity from the dirt of raga or greed. Purity from the dirt of anger, dosa. In order to clean our minds, to make our mind clean, we need to apply energy. And this is called virya. If virya is not present, then we won't be able to accomplish cleaning the mind. Now, virya is normally translated as effort, but in fact, what it means is courage and bravery, courageous effort. And this courage is required, as the Buddha said, and Sayadaw mentioned the other day, Courage is required to avoid misdeeds, the dukkaritas. So we understand that if we don't avoid the dukkaritas, misdeeds, then we'll get bad results. We understand this and we believe this. And there's the desire to avoid doing misdeeds. And that desire is a clean, wholesome desire. So only if we have that desire will we have the courage not to do misdeeds. In Pali it said, "Akusalanam tamanam pahanaya vayamo." To dispel the akusala dhammas requires courage. And if in fact we do something wrong, we also need courage to admit that. We shouldn't pretend to have purity that we don't have. So we have to be honest about ourselves. So that's on the side of what needs to be avoided. Misdeeds need to be avoided. And on the other hand, there's what we should do. Kusalana tamana upasampadaya vayamo. We need to make effort, courageous effort, to perform good deeds. So today Sayadaw will begin to talk about the courage of the energy that is needed to avoid and to perform. To avoid what needs to be avoided and to do what needs to be done. So in this work we start with virya, this practice, courage. So where does this virya, this courage come from? Well, it may be from knowing the qualities of the Satipatthana practice, or it may be from knowing, hearing about the trainings of Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. So hearing about these practices, the practice of Satipatthana, there's the desire to get the benefits that come from the practice. And because of that desire, we leave our family, we leave our work, and we pay whatever it costs to get here. So only someone who has courage will do something like this. This is virya, this is energy. So why do we do this? Because we understand that the happiness of the Dhamma is far better than the happiness that we can get in the world. Of course, worldly happiness is good in a way, but it's good enough to kill us. So, knowing the qualities of the Dhamma, we leave the world behind to come here. And this is virya. And this is what we have to have at the start. So, all of us here who have come and taken on the life of a yogi, let's take a look at ourselves. Take a look at yourself now and ask, did I come here to get knowledge, just general knowledge about the Dhamma? Did I come here to get this happiness that is guaranteed to be better than any happiness in the world? So when we think about this, the fact that we've left behind all the things that we enjoyed in the world, then we can't behave lightly in going about this practice. We can't be disrespectful towards the practice. We need to take on the attitude that I'm going to work continuously. And two attitudes that one needs to have is an attitude of respect for the practice. One has to practice respectfully, cherishing the practice, and also practice continuously. Try to make the practice continuously. So these two items are things that we have to try for. So now we've all taken on the name of yogi. But it's not enough to be a yogi only in name. Without the method of practice, without practice, it can't happen. So we have to know the method, but also, if we know the method but don't practice, respectfully and continuously, then that's still not enough. To be a true yogi, one has to possess what is called in Pali yoga. And yoga means applied energy. So it means engaging in effort. And there are 3 stages to this yoga, applied energy. The first stage is initial energy, application of energy, initial effort. That's what we do at the start. And then the second level, we have to increase our effort, increase the application of energy to overcome laziness. And then the third level of applying energy is progressive energy, which develops in stages until we reach the goal. So these three stages are called yoga in Pali. And one who possesses these 3 types of effort is called a yogi. So to say that we possess this yoga, these 3 stages of effort, we can't possess something from nothing. So for example, at work, when we do our work carefully and according to the requirements, then we get paid. So here also is a matter of we have to apply our energy. And when we try to sit for an hour, pains come up, discomfort comes up, but we need to make the effort to sit there for an hour without shifting. So if we have to be able to note the discomfort that arises. And someone who doesn't have much courage won't be able to do this. The Buddha said that greed, hatred, and delusion have been following us throughout our lifetimes. Both ordinary greed, lobha, ordinary dosa, and ordinary delusion, moha, and extreme lobha, dosa, and moha. These defilements give us a lot of trouble. Due to these, we suffer. We have to get rid of them. In order to gain the upper hand and to overcome lobha, dosa, and moha, we need courage. And we need to have the three types of energy. Arambadhatu, which is initial effort that Sayadaw mentioned before. The effort that we make to get started. And second, Nekhamadhatu, which is the energy that we apply to overcome laziness. We don't slack off, we increase our effort level to overcome laziness. And then, having overcome that, the desire arises to go further, to go all the way to reach the goal. And that stage of effort is called Paṇḍitā. It's progressive effort that goes in stages until one reaches the goal. One who possesses these 3 levels of energy is a true yogi. Those who have come here to this place have been instructed to note the obvious object, whatever arises at the present moment. Among the 4 types of objects, kaya, vedana, citta, and Dhamma, physical objects, feeling, mental, and general objects. And that's according to the Buddha's instruction. And the Buddha used the word atapi to describe the yogi. That means one who possesses ardent effort. Ardent means that one can't be cold and casual. One's effort has to be alert. And one can't be looking here and there. If we do that, then kilesas are going to come into our mind stream. We have to be active, not sluggish. So this is very important for the yogi. The yogi's effort to know the object has to be ardent. It has to be active and alert. And this is the starting task for the yogi. Sayadaw mentioned the word asevitavan and asevana to describe this starting effort. Asevana means to start something. And experientially, what this means is that when we know the method is to know everything that arises. But at the start, it's like being a school child. A school child at the start of their schooling, they can't read. So first of all, they have to learn the alphabet, A, B, C, and so on. And they also have to say the letters aloud. They have to learn the sounds of the letters. And when they know the alphabet, then they can start to spell. C-A-T, cat, R-A-T, rat, and so on. And they also do this by reciting aloud. So these are the basics that we need in order to read. And among the yogis here now, no matter how old you may be or how well educated, please take on the attitude of a child. So here we are. We need to study the correct method. And that is to know whatever arises. But at the start, just like the child has to learn, starting from the very simple basics, we start with putting our mind on the abdomen to observe the rising and falling. So in our experience, there are two things. Nama, which is mental, and rupa, which is physical. So there's the physical and the mental. Rupa and nama. Rupa, or physicality, doesn't know. It doesn't have knowledge. Nama, or mentality, knows. So this is where their names come from. So of these two, nama and rupa, the mind and the body, the physical is more obvious. So that's what we give priority to when we start our practice. And the basic building blocks of the body, of physicality, are the four elements of Paṇḍitā Sayadaw, earth, temperature, air, and water. And there's other elements which are based upon these four elements, such as the eyes that we see with our ears, sight, sounds, and so on. But these dependent physicalities that are built on the basic building blocks are less obvious. The most obvious are these four building blocks. And among these four, Paṇḍitā, earth, Tejo, temperature, Vayo, air, and Apo, water. The most obvious of these for us to observe is the Vayo Dhatu, the air element. So we start by observing that. In Pali, it said, Yatha Bhagavatam Vipassana Viso. That means we have to start our observation in Vipassana, beginning with what is obvious. There are four postures: sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. And the Buddha said that among these four, and starting with the sitting posture is the best of all. When we stand up, it requires energy. It's easy to follow this. We just stand and meditate. And walking, if we're wearing out, if we walk continuously. Lying down, we likely to fall asleep. But in the sitting posture, we can, the body is stable and upright. So the Buddha instructed that the yogi should posture so that the body is stabilized on the lower line. And the back should be upright at 90 degrees to the floor, perpendicular to the floor. And then when this one is lying, the bottom of the side is here, is the abdomen. So the abdomen is obvious when we breathe in. There's air that's circulates in the belly. And when we breathe in, that air becomes obvious. And we breathe out that air. So to know this, breathing is the abdomen. You know this air and just breathe normally. And as we breathe in, putting our heads down, we breathe in, and the abdomen begins to move, swell up and expand, right? So we make effort to apply our mental energy to stay with that movement. So the very strong head, all the way through to the center. Try to keep our mind up there. So with this feeling, our energy, we have to push our mind. So we can reach the other person to make it quickly up. And this is called that holy mind. This has a little effort. And then again, the next time, again, when we fall, we make the higher energy to observe it inside the thing. We rise in, we fall in, again, and we have to apply our mind. This is called Dhamma. This is the effort that we make to continue to develop. So, when we do this, the whole mind arises together with energy, Virya, every time we make effort. So if we know every second, there's one occurrence of this wholesome mind respecting. So with the first time we observe, that's the start of our energy, our wholesome energy. And each time we apply our mind again, to the next rising, to the next falling, this energy gets stronger. Each time it gets stronger. So this is called Dhamma. So in this step, we have to have effort, Virya. And having this is means that we're yoga. What is the benefit of having Virya? Means that we won't be lazy. One lazy is not going to our mind. Because our mind is very happy. This alert and energy is here. If this is important, laziness will come in and have the mind. So we make effort, starting effort, and continued effort to observe this progress. And the starting effort is called operation. And applying our mind again and again to transformation is called Anapana. So our effort is needed to overcome laziness, but it's not only laziness that we overcome. All the kilesas are dispel our effort. All these kilesas are dispelled and not given a chance to arise by our effort. So this kusala, wholesome mind, is led by energy, effort. And this mind is clean. It's clean because it's free of the kilesas. Virya energy has the special ability to not give kilesas a chance to arise. And this quality that Virya has becomes obvious when we practice. Sometimes our energy is excessive, and when that happens, we miss the object, we go too far. And sometimes energy is weak, and in that case, the mind doesn't reach the object. In order to balance our energy, we need to have the jhana factor, the vitakka, we need to have the focusing factor, or vitakka, or aiming. This quality of aiming enables us to use the right amount of effort so that the mind meets the object directly, head on. So this mind state of vitakka has this quality of being focused, which is a factor of jhana factor. And it also is, it aims the mind. So with aim, our mind becomes fresh, it blossoms, opens up like a flower. It's not sharpened or withered. This quality must be present every moment. Every time we notice that we have to do both the application of energy, and we also need to aim the mind. And the start of this is called aiming. Energy and aiming are the most important things for us to have as we start our practice. So the nearest enemy as we start our practice is laziness, called metta in Pali. It's the attitude where one doesn't want to exert oneself. One wants to just back off, slack off, take it easy. And every starting yogi experiences this difficulty. Every starting yogi has to struggle with this laziness. It's our nearest enemy, and it gives us the most trouble. And also to apply the force that opposes laziness, which is vitakka. Vitakka, aiming, is the direct opposite of laziness, because laziness makes the mind shrink and wither. Aiming, or vitakka, makes the mind blossom, so it directly counteracts laziness. We have to fight off laziness, metta, with these two qualities, with effort, application of energy, and with aiming. And we have to always have these two qualities every moment in our practice. When the abdomen rises, also we need to observe it and also make the mental label of rising. Just like the school child starts out by having to recite, so too, when we start our practice, it's very important for us to label the objects that we observe with whatever is the natural label for them. So when the abdomen rises, we observe the rising movement and we note it as rising. When the abdomen falls or collapses, we know it's falling. Together with our observation of the object, we make the mental label. And similarly, when we do walking meditation, whether it's noting left step, right step, or lifting, placing when we're going somewhat slower, or lifting, moving, placing, we use the labels and we also apply our mind. We apply energy and aiming so that our mind is directly facing the object, the movement of the step. So we have to apply energy and aiming each time we make a step in walking. And Sayadaw sees that although it's been 3 days already, a lot of yogis are walking in a very normal way, just like they were on the outside. So Sayadaw says, if people continue like this, it's not going to make any sense for you to be here. You've got to try to behave like a yogi. So yogis need to move about mindfully. So, knowing that the benefits that the practice brings, one needs to cherish the practice and apply one's effort every waking moment to observing the arising object, every moment that we're awake, except for the time that we're asleep. So Sayadaw will continue, Sayadaw urges everybody to work in this way, and he will continue this talk tomorrow. Sadhu, sadhu.